But correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Man just wants to live his life.
No, man wants to make his life better. And the reason why he believes in a God, at least in the proteus of man, in the beginning of man, was because he didn't have a good life. And people made God because they knew that they could exploit the lesser minds into giving them money, into giving them sex, into giving them women, giving all these things. And yes, Christianity eventually got rid of the sex, but in the very beginning, when religion first began, they had all these things. But they eventually made it into more of a confinement, and they controlled man more, and they eventually said, listen, if you give us all these things, you'll get a reward in the afterlife. Why weep for death? Our society is in such a way now that if we worked together, got rid of religion, and started thinking as if man were our only hope and that we need to work for our society now because our society is all we have, we can make our society near utopia. Instead of waiting for an afterlife for our reward, which will never come, we work for our reward now and make it what we can.
Okay. Take away all the spiritual stuff.
And we'd have less wars.
Yeah, because most wars are
religious. I mean, 9/11. This war wouldn't have started if it hadn't been for a religious war. Whether or not you believe in some sort of conspiracy theory that the government did it because they wanted to sacrifice, or if you're meat and potatoes like I am and it was because of Islamic unrest, whatever your reasoning, it's always the base idea that it was a religious war. And that's why it happened, because religion is a corrupting force, and it destroys the human mind, and it blinds the mind, and it makes them, in my mind, a primitive mind.
I myself tend to take away everything, take all the spiritual away from everything like Taoism and paganism. Really, it started out as somebody trying to teach someone. Me, I like reading, so I read the books because they're a good read, but they also teach you like relaxation exercises, home remedies.
But the thing is, modern psychology teaches you all the same things without putting a spiritual twist on it. You don't need to read these books because people, when they read holy books, they say, these are the words of God, we must obey them. They don't teach you relaxation things, they teach you spiritual things. If you go with philosophical things, they teach you these things. If you go with psychological things, they teach you down-to-earth ideas that will make you better. If you go with religion, they give you this flawed idea that if you behave and live a life of poverty or do whatever or sacrifice or do all these things that are unhealthy for basically any human, you'll be rewarded in the afterlife. Instead of trying to better society, better yourself, you wait until death, then you'll get your reward. It just doesn't make sense.
They're trying to better their pocketbook.
Yeah, exactly. So, heck, even paganism. You may respect paganism, but the coven leaders, they are the wise people in the group. All the coven practitioners, you have to agree with me, they're dumb as fuck. And the only reason why they're dumb as fuck is because the coven leader has to keep them dumb as fuck in order to keep their money coming into him so he can keep the coven going. You know that as well as I do. It may be New Age religion, but it's still the same old story.
You obviously don't know the people I know because we're all broke as fuck anyway.
But the point is the person in power is still getting a power trip from having them under his belt. See?
I now want to kick the guy in the shin. Once again, this won't happen often.
I'm sorry, Locke, but I am telling you the truth about religion. It's all a power play.
No, I wasn't talking about kicking you in the shin. I was talking about the guy that plans everything. Actually, technically, it's a female, so I guess...
Well, yeah. Well, that's most New Age religion. But all I'm trying to say is religion is a corrupting force. It's not a healing force, see? A lot of people, they want to romanticize it. But you can't romanticize something like religion. You have to see it for what it is. If you read the Old Testament, it says God does not change. But yet the New Testament, when Jesus was teaching, if Jesus actually existed, which there's no historical proof that he did, he was preaching a whole different dogma, trying to change people's minds. He was not teaching actual biblical knowledge. He was actually teaching something completely different. He was often asked about the Ten Commandments. He didn't list any of the Ten Commandments. He might have listed a couple of them, but he didn't list the important ones to God. He listed the important ones to man's betterment. And that's the difference. Jesus didn't know jack crap about the Old Testament. You read the Bible, he didn't know jack crap about the Old Testament. Many of the whole quote-unquote prophecies about Jesus were just jack crap made up on the spot. You read the footnotes and shit, they were stretched just to fit. They don't make sense.
And when you think about it, the Christian God is the world's first mass murderer.
He actually endorsed genocides. I mean, if you're a natural person, if you're a good person, you think genocide's bad, but God is always telling people, kill men, women, and children. Women and children. Kill everyone. Destroy them. Sacrifice them. Burn them. And yet people think he's a loving God because of what Jesus said. Jesus is not talking about the Old Testament God. He's talking about a new type of God that is not the actual God of the Old Testament. He's talking a different God. You're not worshiping the Old Testament God. You're worshiping a completely different God, and they don't understand that. They don't want to look into it. They don't understand their own religion. They don't understand any religion. They don't even understand their religion.
They don't even understand themselves.
In fact, that's true. And that's why I don't like religion, because it clouds their minds, and it clouds their minds about other people.
So yeah, this has been The World According to Locke. Merry meet, merry part, merry meet again.
And this is 6 saying, until we meet again. Alright. Do 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 do.